My name is Julie Winters. I was born on December 13th, 1996. I should be 39 years old now, but I'm not. I'm 24. I've been 24 for 16 years. I can't grow older. I can't die. I've tried both. I was here before. You were here before. All of us were here before. But somehow, nobody remembers. Nobody ever remembers. Only me. It's the same thing every time. December 31st, 2021. We're standing in the middle of Times Square, landlocked in the sea of revelers. The ball drops, the countdown. 3, 2, 1. And the calendar turns to January 1st, 2021. Again. In December of 2020, my friends and I had planned to go to Times Square for New Year's Eve, just as we always do. But this time, we were going with a special purpose, to give a huge middle finger into the past year as we sail away towards new horizons. Some of my friends even flew in a few days early for the event. When Prince and the Revolution said they were going to party like it's 1999, I think they had the right predictions, just the wrong year. But on December 30th, the police announced that while they were still going to drop the ball, nobody would be allowed in Times Square on New Year's Eve. To say we were disappointed was the understatement of a lifetime. What would we do now? Sit home and watch a live stream of the ball drop after our friends flew here from across the country? I could have stayed home and do that. No, this was not going to go down like that. We were not going to be denied our rite of passage out of this year. When Clark Griswold drives across the country to take you to Wally World, you're going to Wally World, whether Officer John Candy opens that gate or not. I knew many of the elites were going to be given permission to watch the ball drop from surrounding locations, and police presence was going to be cut by 80%, which definitely worked in our favor. The plan was to approach from several blocks away, avoiding 8th Avenue and 42nd Street at all costs. We would gradually get closer while maintaining a loft presence, as if we were simply on our way somewhere else, not trying to enter the square. With these covert measures, it began to feel like we were trying to avoid detection by occupying forces. It was close to midnight when we made our approach. We couldn't go in early or we'd risk being pushed out of the area completely by the police before the ball dropped. As some random, nameless pop star finished a bland cover of John Lennon's song, the 30-second countdown began. When the countdown hit 15 seconds, we picked up our pace. 10 seconds, and we started running. A cop saw us and yelled, "Stop, you can't be here." But it was too late. We were already there, less than a block away from the ball as it was landing in a perfect view. 3, 2, 1. Came through the broadcast in my earbud as the cop was just yards away from us. "Happy New Year," we all cheered. I don't remember anything after that. All I remember is that we were in front of 1 Broadway Avenue when midnight hit, and suddenly it was 3 a.m. and we were back at my place in the Queens. I didn't say anything about my missing memory to the others, and they didn't say anything to me. I wondered if the occupying forces had been keeping people away for reasons other than the virus. The next New Year's Eve, 2021, the same group of us met up, except for John. He couldn't make it this year. This time the streets were full. Everything was back to normal. Or so I thought. Everything was going as you'd expect. The flavors of the month were lip-syncing their current radio hits. Talking heads from radio and TV were all talking into microphones and telling their audience how much fun they were supposed to be having. When the countdown reached 10 seconds, the crowd chanted along. 10, 9. Someone cracked a joke about Ryan Seacrest's balls dropping. 3, 2, 1. Happy. And then that's when I came back consciousness at my apartment in the Queens, along with my friends, the same friends, including John, who couldn't make it this year. I turned on the TV and flipped through the playbacks of the celebrations. The number 2021 was splashed everywhere, even across the huge plastic glasses that they were all wearing. My phone said it was January 1st, 3 a.m., but just 3 hours prior, it was December 31st, 2021. I woke up the next day thinking of what a strange dream that was. That is, until I started flipping through the social media post. Everyone was wishing everyone a happy 2021. I thought I must still be dreaming. But the dream didn't end. I continued living every day just as I had the year before. I knew when many things were going to happen before they happened. Some of the things that I didn't remember would hit me after they happened, making me laugh. I tried seeing a psychiatrist. I didn't tell them that I still thought I was repeating the previous year. I presented it as a thing that temporarily plagued me, but I was now aware that it was not real, and I was trying to figure out what happened and work with the fallout of it all. When the doc asked me if I was still thinking I'm repeating the previous year, I hesitated before stumbling and saying no. I think he knew I was lying. My birthday came again on December 13th, and I turned 25. Again, as I had the year prior, before the time reset. Again came to New Year's Eve in the Times Square, and again at midnight I woke up at 3 a.m. in my apartment in the Queens, celebrating January 1st, 2021 with the same friends. And it happened again and again. I tried changing things over the year, thinking that I did something wrong and needed to fix it in order for time to continue moving forward. And none of this worked. After my 8th time repeating 2021, I decided I couldn't take it anymore. I was going to end it. In mid-July of that cycle, I drove across the George Washington Bridge. Halfway across, I pulled over to the side and leapt. My next memory was waking up in my apartment in Queens at 3 a.m., January 1st, 2021. I can't die. No matter what happens to me, time keeps resetting. This year, one thing changed. After the ball dropped and the countdown hit 0, I did not suddenly wake up at 3 a.m. in my apartment. This time, on the stroke of midnight, we stayed exactly where we were on the street, in front of 1 Broadway Avenue. The sea of rubbers from December 31st, 2021 suddenly disappeared. 1 second prior and we couldn't move. Now we were just standing alone in front of the ball, streets empty. Still New Year's Day 2021. Just no 3-hour time and space shift to my apartment. I no longer care if I'm deemed mad or insane. I am telling my story publicly in order to try to find anyone else who remembers the reset. I haven't met anyone else who remembers. Please, contact me if you remember. There has to be someone. Back then, I wasn't good at sleeping. I could never get a good night's rest. It was in my freshman year at college when it started. My parents bought an old house in this small neighborhood, close to my dad's job in my high school. At first, it was just a house. It wasn't any different from the one that I lived in before. If anything, it was nicer. The previous owners even left a piano in one of the rooms upstairs. For the first week, it was nothing but pleasant. In a very sudden turn of events, everything changed. I remember hearing footsteps in the house. I would call out to them, but no one ever answered. Of course, me being naive, I never thought anything of it. I had even imagined it being my dog, who was still adjusting to the house and was constantly barking in random parts of the house. That night, I woke up in a cold sweat in my room. It was pitch black, so I tried to turn on my lamp, but I couldn't move my body. Now, I've always heard of sleep paralysis, but I didn't think it would or even could happen to me. I was stuck in my bed and I tried to close my eyes, but the whispers had begun. It sounded like an old man mumbling at the foot of my bed, and there he was, a figure shrouded in darkness. I couldn't make out any features and could only see that they were holding a small knife. I told myself out loud that it wasn't real. Maybe I didn't tell myself that. Maybe I was begging to God that the person at the foot of my bed wasn't there. Then, almost like magic, I woke up in my bed again. But this time it was morning and I could smell breakfast being cooked. This would happen for the rest of the week. The figure would appear in different parts of my room when I was paralyzed. Sometimes it was near my bed, other times it was standing in the doorway. Most commonly, however, it stood in my closet. I hadn't even opened it, as I had been too lazy to unpack everything I had. The figure never spoke, and at most it would only mumble inaudible nonsense. I even began to joke about it with myself, giving my sleep paralysis demon a name, Jerry. However, this wasn't the only falling action of the story. It only got weirder and more concerning. I would hear noises in my room in the afternoon when I wasn't upstairs. I would also see things in the corner of my eye. My dog at the time wouldn't even touch the staircase. One day I was yelled at by my parents to put my stuff away into the closet. I was hesitant at first, but as I had suspected, nothing was inside of it. Nothing, of course, except a water bottle. It was the same brand my family used, and it definitely hadn't had the time to collect any dust. Someone or something brought a water bottle from the kitchen downstairs into my bedroom closet. At that point, I was beginning to question why a figment of my imagination needed to drink water. I asked my parents, but they thought I was making a weird excuse to get out of cleaning my room. So that night, I came prepared. I plugged my charger into my phone and left the camera to record overnight, silently hiding behind my lamp and alarm clock. And what I saw on that recording still haunts me to this day. Hours of recording passed by with nothing. I was starting to believe that I had imagined everything, but I watched it open. I watched my closet door slowly open. Then the figure came out. I had slept almost well that night with no paralysis, so I watched in horror as the figure leaned over me and just watched. Finally, it retreated back to the closet and it came back holding something. It was a bowl of food. I swear it was the same bowl my mom thought we forgot to take. It watched me as it ate whatever was in that bowl. After watching for a few minutes, it stretched out its arms and folded itself underneath my bed. I sped up to the recording on my phone, looking for the part where it went back to the closet, the same closet that was still open at the time. It never left. The demon that lived in my closet wasn't a demon at all. It was a person, and they were still under my bed, listening quietly. I could hear small shuffling noises under me. I could remember jumping up and running out of the room. I had never jumped that far before, making sure to be nowhere near that bed. I got to my parents' room and locked the door to show them what I had just watched. I remember it like it was yesterday, the way my dad took the rifle out of the closet. It wasn't ours, but had been left behind, just like the piano. He quietly loaded it and opened the door. He crept up to my bedroom and I watched him unload 3 rounds into my bed. When the first 2 hit, I could hear the screams of the person under it, but the final round was the one that ended it. My parents called the police and told them what happened. After the investigation, the police told my parents it was clear that the person had been living inside the attic for some time. There were cans of food, water, and a bowl of a half-eaten rodent of some kind inside the attic entrance that I had failed to notice was inside my closet. And that was the end of it. Of course, that man was upset I ended his little game early, so he came to watch me sleep sometimes. And this was long after his death. But these times I could hear those low mumbles. To this day, I can remember what he always said so clearly. He was always mumbling, "I'm hungry."